Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for iOS today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and once again, time for Twit's audience survey. We'd really like to hear from you. It's only going to take a couple of minutes, really. That's all. Just go to twit.tv/survey and let us know what you think. Your anonymous feedback will help us make Twit even better. And thanks for your continued support.
I have an app that will let you go into the frontier on an adventure.
Ooh, and I have an app that's going to turn podcasting back into radio.
And I'm going to tell you what I think of this.
iOS Today is brought to you by Eero. Why settle for just a Wi-Fi router when you can have a brilliant, hyper-fast, super simple Wi-Fi system? No more buffering, no more dead zones. Finally, Wi-Fi that works. For free overnight shipping, visit Eero.com and at checkout, select overnight shipping and enter the code iOS Today. And by FreshBooks, the ridiculously easy-to-use cloud accounting software used by over 10 million small business owners. Try it free for 30 days at freshbooks.com/iOS Today. And by Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. When it comes to the big decision of choosing a mortgage lender, work with one that has your best interest in mind. Use Rocket Mortgage for a transparent, trustworthy home loan process that's completely online at quickenloans.com/iOS Today. That's cute. iOS Today. Something's really wrong with this picture. Hi, Megan Morrone.
Hi, Leo Laporte. That's a guy that stole my iPhone for the last month.
Yeah, I took it.
Our
I walked up to Megan and said, "Give it to me."
national nightmare is over, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, Jason will get his Pixel back and you'll get your iPhone back.
Hallelujah.
But not before we talk about how we've grown in the last month.
Exactly. Honestly, I'm so happy we did this. I've been wanting to do this for years. I feel like in my kind of experience of talking about technology, iOS has always, and iOS and the iPhone and all the Apple products, the mobile Apple products, have always been such an important part of the evolution of the last 10 years of technology, let's say. Yet I always had an outsider view of it.
You never used an iPhone
one.
ever?
No, I'd never used one.
Wow, that's
not
weird.
and especially not in day-to-day use. Like, it would have one, you know, like, hey, check this out.
Play with it. Yeah.
They give it to me for a couple of minutes, but never living with one.
Megan, have you ever had an Android phone? You did.
Yes.
Yeah?
I had an Android phone.
Back in the day.
Yes, back in the day. I had the Palm Pre. I didn't have the iPhone until just a couple of years ago, actually. But I've always been a Mac user. I was just forced into using Android. And I don't hate it.
That's the praise we're looking for.
Yeah. And how about you, Jason? Do you hate iOS?
No, I actually
Do you
don't
not
hate
hate it?
iOS at all.
Okay.
No,
We do
talk
not
about
hate.
that.
This
Yeah.
is a not
We don't
hate
hate here.
episode. All right. Well, how should we play this? Do you want to start, Megan?
Well, Jason has some notes. I'm going to be on his show tomorrow to talk about my experience. This is really just his experience with the iPhone 7.
So tomorrow on All About Android, you're going to come into the lion's den and tell them why you hate their operating
At the end of the show, we'll do a little to be continued. And you got to
and I'm agnostic in this battle because I use both, and I actually really like both. Although of late I've been using the iPhone maybe a little bit more because I've been using the Apple Watch during my workouts, and so I want to have the iPhone with it. But I love both. I think both have a lot to recommend themselves.
I mean, I think ultimately in almost a month, tomorrow being the actual official month, I think, and then, at the end of tomorrow, we actually do the device swap back and life returns to normal. But what I've realized about myself, and I'm sure that this translates to others, is that we're super adaptable. Like, I think for me, after having used Android for years and years and years, there was a little bit, good or bad reasons, there was a little bit of fear of like walking away from something that I'm used to and trying something different. And what I realized at the end of the month is, it's just another OS that does the same darn thing. You know what I mean? It does it in different ways. Some things it does very similarly to Android. Some things it's less, as they say, open, and a less kind of, I don't know, it doesn't give you as much access and as much freedom to the OS. But maybe that's not a bad thing. Some people don't need all of that. You know what I mean?
Let me propose this, because this is kind of what I observe And I talk to a lot of people on both sides. In fact, on the radio show, a lot of people call me and say, I'm going to get my first iPhone or I'm going to get my first Android phone. I'm moving. What should I expect? And what it kind of, I think, boils down to, but you correct me if I'm wrong, is that for iOS users, Android can be overwhelming. There's so many configuration options. There's so many different ways you can make the screen look. You can, in fact, make it look just like an iPhone. You could actually use it just like an iPhone.
Sure.
But you feel challenged to try some of these other things, and that can be overwhelming. And people who go from Android to iOS, I think sometimes feel a little bit constricted. Like,
Yes.
I want to do this one thing. Why can't it do that? I can't share to this from this. And so they have expectations that aren't met by iOS. But I think if you live in those slots all the time, you don't encounter these problems. You're perfectly happy with iOS. You're perfectly happy with Android.
Yeah.
Well, if you take a step back, some people just don't even, there's different flavors of Android. I think some
That's true,
people
too.
who buy like a Samsung phone don't even realize that they have other options.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing, the launchers. That was the thing that I never
You're like
used
a launcher? What is a launcher?
Exactly.
That's a good example, because I think Android people say, well, you mean I'm stuck with the springboard? The only launcher I can use is that? And you didn't even want to change launchers. It's like, well, no, this is what it came with.
Right.
Why do I have to change launchers?
Right, but I was using the Pixel launcher, so that was, some people argue that is the best.
Well, and
it's not my favorite, but
yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Android, you have a million and one different options, alternatives for these launchers. The Pixel launcher, just as that phone is concerned, is what launches with the device, what is installed on the device when you get it. And so I think many people are fine to receive the phone based on the vision that whoever made it had for it and live within those confines. But other people know that there's other things like Nova Launcher or other ways to tweak it and really kind of take that experience and make it their own, add in a lot of customization so that I don't have to go into the app drawer to find that app. All I have to do is tap the screen twice and my favorite app launches. Little things like that, different launchers give you capabilities.
A lot of the innovation on Android happens in the launcher, actually. But here's one thing you've got to give props to iOS for, and that's battery life.
Battery life, yes.
Because iOS locks the system down and controls what's running in the background, controls what apps can do, they get amazing battery life out of those apps.
I, out of sheer laziness, have gotten into the habit of not plugging it in at night because I knew it would make it to the next day.
Can't do that with any Android
I mean,
phone.
you probably could with some Android devices, but consistently I did that with the iPhone, but also partially to just like try and test it out, push it to the limits as far as that's concerned, really see how far I could get on one charge. And I mean, it would get me well into the next day to where I come into work and I can plug it in and feel fine. My main problem with the battery on the iPhone is not that the battery life isn't good. It's that my experience with charging compared to fast charging and quick charge on the Android side of things, I want 15 minutes to give me a maximum amount of charge. And you don't really, or at least I don't. I haven't noticed that with the iPhone. I would have to plug it in for a solid hour and a half, 2 hours to get something very, very significant, the majority of the battery charged up. And I don't feel like that's the case with a lot of the Android phones that are made nowadays, the top of the line ones.
Did you ever feel, Megan, insecure? Because that's the other side of this equation, is that Android is a little bit scary sometimes because there's more malware and not. Fortunately, you had the Google phone, which is updated, as quickly as any phone out there, more quickly than most. But did it ever make you nervous?
Yeah, I did feel a little bit uneasy sometimes, especially, I went to the Women's March and I felt like, I was looking into what it's like to be a protester and how people are sucking up your data. And I did think about that. I thought, I kind of have an idea of how much of my information is being revealed by Apple versus I don't really know. And I don't think Google was using that to label me as a political dissident or anything.
Oh, you're using Android list.
Yeah, you're on the
But
list.
I for sure think that they're using that to sell me things.
Right.
Absolutely. There are a lot of more, every time you download an app, there's a lot more like, I have to give it, this and this and this. And
permissions.
Android Auto was asking me permissions to use my microphone, and I thought, what is it recording, from me? And it's just really because it wants me to.
You can
it
dictate
wants to know
it.
the wake
access
word,
to different hardware features.
Yeah,
basically.
I did feel a little bit more insecure. There weren't any updates. I know you dealt with a software update in the last month, and you.
Boy, howdy, did I ever deal with one?
What happened?
It appeared, and I accepted it, and it came, and I realized, Wouldn't it be nice for all platforms for an update to hit all devices on a platform at the same time? Like, that's one thing that iOS definitely has going for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and mind you, I'm very used to Google's phones. So the Nexus, the Pixel, I get those updates pretty regularly from there. But I can't help but be just a little jaded about the fact that most people don't. Most people on Android have a really hard time being up to date. A new version of Android comes out. I mean, what is Nougat at right now? Like, is it even at 1%? And, you know, we're how many months into it? Even Marshmallow is low numbers compared to when on iOS an update happens, a major system update happens. So, I mean, what is it? Like 80-90% of all the devices are going to get updated. Some of them, if they're too old, might have some of the features kind of pulled out of it, but you're still going to get that major update, and you're going to get it like right away. You're not going to be waiting months or maybe even a year for it to happen. And that's one thing that I really wish Android had.
You do have
that's
to,
a very strong point of iOS.
You do have to love it that Android names its versions after desserts, though, right? I mean, there is.
True.
Is that a good consolation prize?
We can call iOS 10 Jelly Donut if we want to.
Was there a feature on Android that you saw, that you used, that you wished that iOS had?
Oh, that's a good question. I did enjoy being able to move my apps and put them anywhere I wanted, which is weird, but I like that as opposed to them snapping to a grid all the time.
Did you use widgets at all?
I did use a few widgets. Like, I like having my podcast widget there so that I can turn it.
That's confusing to iOS users because widgets to iOS are something in the notification pane. You have widgets, but on Android you could put them anywhere on the desktop. So you could have a podcast, player on your desktop with controls and everything. So you don't have to open the app to pause it.
I did like that. I liked LastPass was so much easier to use on Android.
Yeah,
than it is
that
on
was one of my biggest kind of annoyances.
So LastPass is the password vault we recommend, but this is true actually of 1Password and Dashlane and the other password vaults too. What does it do on Android that it doesn't do on iOS?
It overlays inside the app so that you can you don't when I'm using different apps in iOS, I have to cut and paste or share use the share sheet to get my password in there. It's just more it's just was easier to use.
That's an example of Android letting third-party developers have access to a lower level of other apps. On iOS, everything is kind of sandboxed intentionally for security reasons.
Yeah.
So one app can't kind of interact with another app. LastPass can sit and watch you run apps and say, oh, I recognize a login screen on Facebook, for instance. I'll fill that in or offer to fill that in for you. And I agree that's a convenience feature. iOS fans might say, yeah, but it's also a huge security risk.
That's kind of what I had down in my notes, right? iOS isn't as generous when it comes to giving access to these underlying mechanics of the OS, which is both a good and a bad thing. It's bad because maybe not bad's the wrong word, but for me, it was not as great because when I'm on Android, I feel like I can move a little bit faster. Things are a little bit more dynamic. Having that window appear over the top of whatever login screen I'm at and just going, yes, fill it with that login ID. Here's my thumbprint to give you access to that, and boom, it's done, and move on. Here, it's more of a manual process. Doing all that is annoying, but then at the same time, Apple does a really good job, like I think iOS in general does a really good job of making an environment that's comfortable and I'll put it in air quotes because maybe people would disagree, but trustworthy. You know what I mean? Apple has gone to lengths to, I think, make decisions that they think are good for the user. And, then when you come back to this whole thing of like, well, you're using it wrong,
right.
That we've experienced time and time again. And I mean, maybe that's the downside to that belief. But I think ultimately that's why the iPhone is really, really popular, because it's made with the user in mind to a large degree. And sometimes that just doesn't give some people as much power and control as they want. Those people are probably better suited for Android.
It goes back actually to the very earliest days of the Macintosh, when the people who made the Macintosh, including, and we should give credit to Jeff Raskin, whose idea this was, but Steve Jobs, who continued the idea with the development and later put it in iOS, that there really should be one way to do things and one path, because the human brain, once it learns that path, follows that path. And that was always kind of the philosophy. We've drifted away a little bit, but I think that's where you get the comfort that Apple has already decided the path,
right,
the way you'll do things. And yeah, maybe a little bit more difficult to fill in a password, but once you kind of have the, double tap, go to the other one.
Totally got used to it.
You kind of get used to it.
I completely
and then that's
got
the one
used
way
to
to do things. And the difference is on Android, much like Windows, there's many ways to do anything, and that can be overwhelming for people who just show me the one way, and I'll just do it that way. But then there are geeks like us who say, well, but I have a kind of I think it goes down to actually you build a conceptual model in your brain of how the device works. And this is the biggest problem both of you have, which is you have a conceptual model in your brain of what this glass slab is, and you've learned it and you've adopted to it, and your model is in somewhat warped by moving to the other thing where the model is different. It's not so, you're right, it isn't that different. Computer is a computer, but you have a conceptual model, and that's what you use when you say, well, what happens when I do this? Well, I think this will happen. And if it doesn't happen that way, then it's a little disruption.
Yeah, and I think that is right there the reason why Megan and I chose to do a month instead of forever. Week. And what I kind of
week. Okay.
Well, I mean, when we were initially talking about it, we were like, well, how long do you do this? Like, is a week
month
long
is perfect,
enough?
I think.
And it's like, no, a week is like long enough for you to be annoyed with it because it isn't what you're used to.
That's right.
A month is long enough to where, like, and I feel like this is kind of played out a little bit in our activity of tweeting with the twit switch hashtag. It really kind of fell off a little bit in the past couple of weeks. Personally, I would say because the last couple of weeks are my weeks where I've adapted. And I'm realizing less. I'm just using it. It's my platform that I use now, and there's less that really jumps out at me because we're adaptable people, and you adapt to it, and now that's just the way it
takes you about that long.
Works.
It takes you about a month to build that model in your mind, and then it behaves as you expect.
Yeah,
right?
I see it as like a river, right? Like the rivers, the water bears down, and you've got the river, but you can put a rock in it and switch the river, move it a little this way, that way. Like I've gotten used to things. I'm more comfortable with it. I don't want to stay. It's not like I want to switch for good. I want my river to move back into iOS.
Would you be willing to switch to iOS
for good? How do I answer this? It's a platform that I could use. I could use it 100% of the time. Do I want to? I don't, because in general, I feel kind of bored with it, to be honest. I feel like, and
you can't tweak it as much.
And I go back around to this is like, I feel a general sense of boredom with the OS. And I don't know if that's because of a lack of kind of customization or features or whatever, or what that's from. But I feel like I'm engaged more when I'm on Android than I am with iOS. With iOS, it's a device that gives me the email when I want it, lets me make a phone call when I want it, check my Twitter feed, read some news, whatever. And on Android, I do all those things too, but yet I still feel like engaged with the OS to a different level. And so I kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, but it feels like a computer in the cloud that I just access when I need to here. It's like my computer.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know if that's a good analogy.
No, I think it's a great insight because I think Android attracts ADD types who want to constantly fiddle, and we see it really once writ large when you get to rooting and custom ROMs. I know a lot of people. I was even in this boat that try a different ROM every single day.
I've been there.
Right?
I don't do that anymore, but I've been there.
And that's something you can do on Android, and it does engage you because you're playing with it all the time. Yeah. But I think also there are a lot of people, and I would think, Megan, you're probably one of them, who just, it's an appliance. You just want it to work. Yeah. You don't want to put mental energy into it. It's a tool for you.
Exactly. That's what I would like.
And I think that speaks to what a lot of people would actually like. Like, does the majority
sell 78 million of them for nothing? Right?
Does the majority of people really want to obsess about their phone? They want to use a phone, and they want to make a call, or they want to write an email. Yeah. There's just different type of users, and I guess that's what it boils down to. They do the same things, they do it a little bit differently. They're going to appeal to different.
We
types of
observed
users.
that on Tech TV. That's why we had 2 shows. Call for Help was for people like you, Megan, the people who saw computers as tools. And the screensaver was for people like Jason, who were enthusiasts, who saw it as a toy, something they wanted to play with and engage with and interact with. And I think those are both very legitimate attitudes. And it is a pretty clear, demarcation between those two types. Is there anything on Android that you will miss, Megan?
Oh, that's a good question.
Any feature that you say, gosh, I wish iOS had this one thing?
That is a good
Fingerprint
question.
on the back.
Not the fingerprint on the back.
Why not? Why didn't you like that?
I don't know.
That's where the Pixel puts it. By the way,
Yeah.
Android devices have that, and this is the other thing that's great about Android. You can choose to have a fingerprint reader anywhere you want, including the front.
Right.
Just depends on the device you choose. But I think a Pixel is a good one to do because it's kind of the Google phone. It's the most pure version of Android. But you could get it on the front. Just Samsung puts them on the front. Yeah.
I did like being able. I have tried the Nova launcher, and I do like that. That is.
See, my
something.
favorite's Action Launcher.
Right.
Oh.
So.
That's good too.
I do like the assistant. I like how I can ask it to open apps and play, ask it to open my podcast app and play podcasts where you can't do that with Siri. It's just podcasts app. I did like that. I will miss that.
Did you get into so Siri and Google now are very different, and Google Assistant on the Pixel, which is even more Google now, are very different. Did you kind of get to the point where you felt like you could use Google now in a more fluid way?
And you knew what would work
Right.
and what wouldn't.
Yes. Like we were friends and we were having a conversation.
And did you
I
find
knew-
you used it more than Siri?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And did you feel limited by Siri?
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like with Siri, I feel like I'm being scolded when Siri talks.
Yeah,
to me.
Siri is really kind of.
I just found a general sense of, and I really tried to use Siri as much as I use Google. What I realized in this is how much I use Google Assistant and Voice Assistant on Android. But I tried to use it as much as I do on Android, and I just feel like half the time it gave me a web search instead of something else. I don't know what I was looking for. A lot of times it just wasn't very good at inferring what I meant. Or, you know what I mean? Like
I know totally what you mean.
I feel with Assistant, I can get really creative with how I phrase things, and Google's knowledge on the back end is going to understand how to twist that into the command that it was meant to receive. And I don't get that with Siri. And I feel like good voice assistants have to have that, because no one wants to learn a syntax. We just want to talk to it and have it understand what we do. And I feel like with Siri, I had to constantly kind of figure out how I do this so that Siri will understand it.
Google Assistant's a lot closer to that.
I'm really going to miss Android Auto, which is the app that I used every single day.
Excited about that.
I was, because I have a bad habit of checking my text messages at stoplights, not while I'm driving. And Android Auto, now whenever my phone hooks up to Bluetooth, Android Auto, the app, pops up. Like, I don't have it in my car. I have an older car, and it pops up, and it just gives me what I need to do. I mean,
with big letters, big buttons. It's designed for driving.
Yes, and if I try to scroll around too much, it tells me to stop.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that shows
nice.
my iPhone-ness. Like, I still need a nanny. Like, I want a nanny to tell me
There are
stop doing
apps
things.
that do that on the iPhone that you could launch, that would give you a simplified interface for
Is there no
driving.
way to
Doesn't do it automatically.
recognize a
And that's,
Bluetooth?
again, that's an example of Apple not giving third-party applications access to things like which Bluetooth device is attached, or whether the accelerometer, whether we're moving more than 7 miles an hour, or any of those things. And so that's something, it's funny because that's a new feature of Android that was just
it's
added
relatively
a couple of months ago.
Yeah. Well, what about 3D Touch? That was something you liked.
Yeah, I was going to say a couple of things that I'm going to miss. 3D Touch was one of the bigger surprises for me.
Wow, interesting.
I use it a lot.
Really?
Which is weird because I've used kind of very sparingly the version that you get on Android Assistant or on Google Assistant, which is not 3D Touch necessarily. It's more a tap and hold.
Right.
And you never really know what you're going to get. Maybe it has support for things. But I got very playful with it on iOS and just started kind of using it to see what would happen. And I realized more often than not, it gave me the option in doing so that I was hoping to get. Yes. Oh, there's the reply thing that I was hoping to see when I 3D touched that thing. Cool. There it is. Boom. So I really like that. I also, obviously, the camera. This is the 7 Plus.
Do you think that's a better camera than the
dual
Pixel?
camera on the
Pixel
back?
camera?
I couldn't tell if it was better necessarily, but I could tell that I like the pictures that it took, and I especially
that zoom is fantastic.
The zoom is really nice. I would love to have that, but I really, I kind of was surprised at how much I enjoyed the portrait mode. Portrait mode. I use the portrait mode.
Look at
I'd
these.
say
They're beautiful.
half the time, and the pics of my
There's
girls.
Lucy, your daughter.
Yeah. I don't know. It just
Oh.
Now what I'm noticing here, though, to go back to that, is this is being hosted on Google Photos, and I feel like around her hair with the background,
There's some issues.
There's some issues right
See
there.
that
I didn't
right there?
see that on the phone. But I see it when it uploaded there. I don't know if that's
typical of portrait because of how it works.
Right.
It doesn't always figure out what's in the foreground and what's in the background.
But I mean, I ended up using it pretty regularly because I was pretty happy with the results. Yeah, I mean, pictures in general were really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, lens blur on this phone does not work as well.
Not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same.
There are Android phones, LG makes them,
Yep.
and some others that have zoom cameras, have 2 lenses, and you can zoom in. But I think Apple's implemented it really nicely. This is Apple?
This is this is the iPhone. I do miss actually off
how
of
good
the
that looks.
video recording from the Pixel, that stabilization that Google put into there. I'm realizing how nice it is to have that. You get a little bit of that bumpiness without it on other phones. But
Yeah, I think this is a case where it's a tie. There are good things about both. The Pixel has some great, like the stabilization features. The iPhone has some great features. Both of them are excellent cameras. Did you feel like you were unhappy with the Pixel camera?
Well, I never did get a hold of the photosphere, which was the big thing, trying to make the photosphere.
You couldn't do it?
I couldn't. No, I think it was a patience issue. It always turned out like something was invisible.
Yeah,
And
it takes a long time. And really, to do it right, you've got to pivot in a very unnatural way, not, with you standing there. Like the best ones are done with actual small piece of hardware that the phone pivots on. It's a neat thing to have, but I mean, I never do photospheres.
Yeah.
It's never the thing I think about when I'm at a beautiful view and I want to waste 15 minutes.
Yes,
You know?
it's true. It really, because that's the thing. When you're taking photos, you're removing yourself from the moment. And with
Completely.
the photosphere, you're removing yourself from the moment for, 5
I'd rather
minutes.
have a 360 camera and just go boop
Right.
and be done.
One more day you guys have to suffer with, it's almost like we made you dress in men's clothing and Jason dressed in women's clothing. It's
Walk backwards for the next month.
Yeah, it's
Tell us how it goes.
just a little uncomfortable, but you both managed. But I gather you're both anxious to get back to your home base.
It's familiar, and it's also, this isn't mine. You know what I mean? when it's your phone, it's easier to kind of fall into it. This is Megan's phone, and thank you for letting me use it for the past month. Also, I didn't even talk about the Apple Watch, which I was
we didn't.
super.
Yeah.
We
Super
should
impressed.
mention that because you even called Jason's watch crappy.
No, I called it garbage.
Garbage.
Yeah,
Very
that's-
different.
Garbage. You texted me about 3 weeks in, said, do you have any other Android Wear watches? Because this is terrible. Fortunately, Florence Ion had one that you thought
Yes,
was all
the
right.
Asus Zen 2.
Yeah, she's a
and
big fan of that.
It is okay,
Florence
but it's no Apple Watch. Everyone who I share activity with,
You've been dead
thinks
to
I'm
me
dead.
for a month.
Yeah, I know. I've
You
been
haven't
dead to a
moved.
lot of people.
Yeah.
But I want to hear what you like about the Apple Watch because I don't even think you used it for fitness that much, which is why I love it.
I don't really do that. I don't really track fitness. It seems like way more work than it's worth.
Your
to
wife
me.
is a fitness instructor. You obviously have somebody who's urging you on without the watch's help.
Yeah, I don't feel the need to manage my data as well as manage those steps that I need to climb.
I like it. I like having that,
Yeah, and hey, more power to everybody that is into kind of tracking all that stuff. I feel like for me, it's just so much time spent on something that doesn't have a whole lot of value to me personally.
Well, do you
But-
like Android Wear? I mean,
I really liked Android Wear when it first came out because it was kind of new and everything. But then I realized, here's what I realized. I realized at the time that Android Wear came out that I wanted to use my phone less. I wanted to stop this constant need to look at my phone all the time. Every time it blinked or did a little buzz or whatever, and that the watch would help that. Now I'm not looking at the phone anymore. But then what I realized is now I'm looking at my watch all the time.
Right.
And what I really need is to not be distracted.
look at anything.
I will look at my stuff when it's my time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so from that perspective, I really like the Apple Watch and the design, and for Android Wear, they're both good for that, for letting you know, and notification triage and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of, I don't know. There's just this element of me that I don't want to feel beholden to my technology right now.
I find the watch makes me use the phone more because
you
now
see
I
it,
look at it and go, I have
now
to
you
check
gotta
the
go
phone.
get it.
I just want to put them both aside, and you're right, and
totally.
tune out of the digital sphere.
However, I will say design-wise, this is the best smartwatch that I've used.
It certainly does more than Android Wear, the Apple Watch.
Yeah, but I didn't even really use it for apps.
You just like how it looks.
anytime I went into the app, bubbly thing, it just kind of made my brain hurt, and so
Right.
I hardly did anything there. It was really, I mean, I used it as a watch and kind of notification triage, and really, I wore it, and it's a nice watch. if I wasn't doing this, or if I had a device that it was compatible with, would I spend the money on an Apple Watch? I wouldn't. Like, for me personally, it doesn't carry that much value. Yeah. But it's a really, really nice watch.
Well, there's a new Android Wear coming in a week or thereabouts.
And I'm curious to see what that's all about. Maybe that'll pull me back in.
I don't think we can talk Megan into wearing it, though, probably.
We'll see. I know we have to take a break, and I want to talk about one more thing, which is internet access, because I could not use this so much in my room, which is far away from my router. That might be solved by our sponsor, but after I do want to talk about whether you had problems, because I seriously did have problems.
Got thoughts.
It wasn't as good.
The antenna didn't seem to be as good as the iPhone.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think there's just variations among devices, because even in our house, my iPhone works better than Lisa's iPhone. We both have 7 Pluses. So I think there might be variation among devices. But you're right. If you hadn't, well, you do have an Eero, don't you?
I do not have an Eero.
Oh,
not yet.
We got to get you one. Right?
Okay.
Here, I'll give you this one.
Okay, excellent.
For the next 5 minutes.
Under my chair.
Well, I am moving into a bigger house, so hopefully.
It's true.
You're going to need
cross
one.
fingers. I will need one.
So, everybody suffers these days with bad Wi-Fi. Buffering, you can't get online. If you get online, it's really slow. There's a lot of reasons for that. Houses are bigger. We're spread out more. We're using more devices on the same Wi-Fi router. The Wi-Fi router is old. I think people stick with their Wi-Fi router for years. You probably should get a new one every few years anyway. And if you're going to get a new one, I think you want to look at this new mesh technology that's been pioneered by Eero. Eero is not a single router. You buy one that connects to your cable modem or your DSL modem. And then, using your smartphone, they've got a great app, you add as many more as you need. Each Eero device, and they sell them individually or they sell them in packs of 2 or 3. Each Eero device is about 1,500 square feet worth of range. So in a house of, say, 2,500 square feet, 2 or 3 should do great. I actually like 3 because why not saturate it? My mom, I set up Eeros in her house, and I used 4 because her house, 3 was plenty for her house, 2-story house, about 2,500 square feet. But she also had a studio outside. And I wanted to make sure, she complained she couldn't get access when she went out there to knit or to weave or do her art. And so I put an Eero out there, and it's amazing. It just bathes the area in high-quality Wi-Fi. Eero has updated their router. This is another great thing. If you're used to old-school routers, you have to check, you have to update, and you really do want to update. If you're in luck, there is an update. A lot of times, router companies just go, yeah, you should buy a new one if you want to update. Not Eero. Eero updates for you all the time. I mean, it's transparent, but you get new versions as they not only adjust and fix bugs and fix security holes. I presume they're doing that, but more because it's adjusting to your needs and to what you use and your devices. It's smart about Roku versus Apple TV versus TiVo. It knows about all those things, and the updates help with that. They just added 2.0. They put out 2.0 recently. That's called True Mesh, and it is their next generation wireless mesh technology that gives you better reliability, better speed, better performance, even better than the original Eeros. And all that's free and automatic. I love Eeros. You'll love the app if you're a geek. Lots of nice features, of course, DMZs and port forwarding, but also IP address reservations and the ability to attach names to each device. Now, I really like this. So we have a 14-year-old. I've named all his devices. It's his iPad, his computer, it's his smartphone, and I can actually tell Amazon Echo, not that other one. Tell Amazon Echo, pause Michael's Wi-Fi, and it disconnects his devices. And oh, by the way, he can't go up to the Echo and say, unpause Michael's Wi-Fi. You have to do that in the password-protected app. Every device can be assigned to a person, and so you can control your Wi-Fi in an amazing way. You can also use Echo to find your phone or any device in your house that's attached to the Wi-Fi. It'll tell you which of the Eeros it's attached to. You can dim the light at night. It's kind of fun. Echo, turn off the light on my Eero if you want a pitch black bedroom. We've got a great deal for you. We've partnered with Eero to give you free overnight shipping because I know you want this right away. Go to Eero, EERO.com, and use the offer code iOS today, and you'll get free overnight shipping. The trick is to buy what you need, and as I said, you get 1 pack. This is a 3-pack. I should show you these because they're so pretty, and you may not be able to tell from the website how big they are. They're not very big. They're just very compact, so attractive. You could just put them in your living room. I like this. That's you connect to the cable modem or the DSL modem, but that you can connect, as I do, to a switch. So I can now have a lot of wired devices. So this is my home entertainment unit, and then I have this to a switch, a 24-port switch, which is connected to the TiVo and the Roku and all that stuff. But it's still maintained by the Eero, and the quality of service and all that stuff is handled completely automatically. EERO.com. Buy what you want, and then at checkout, use the offer code iOS Today, and you'll get free overnight shipping. Your new, I'll make it a housewarming gift for you.
Oh, that's sweet.
When are you moving?
Well, I got it. My house has to close, and then they have to accept the offer on the new house.
All that stuff takes time.
Yes.
Jason knows all about that. Right? Yeah.
Fun times.
Yeah. So you think the antenna is no different on the Pixel and the iPhone 7?
No, I don't think so. My experience has been. I use both in the house.
Did we get new? I know at some point we were going to get T-Mobile extenders here.
It's in the studio. We did have that.
We did. Okay. Yeah. I couldn't tell if it was the phone or if that actually finally happened, because I was like, wow, I get T-Mobile service in here, and I've never got it on the Pixel.
Both of these phones, and really, I think this is great. If you're on the right carrier, will support Wi-Fi calling.
Yeah.
T-Mobile supports that. Both of them support it on T-Mobile. So that means we put a T-Mobile access point in the studio, what they call I think they have a funny name for it. It's a femtocell is the technical name.
Right.
And it's right over there. No, not in this room. It's in the next room over. Sorry. It's right over there. And that's right. So now you have, you always had Wi-Fi calling.
I wondered, though, because I didn't know if that had happened. I was like, man, this iPhone is able to get some impressive T-Mobile service.
Yeah, I don't think the Pixel's bad. You know what I'll do is I'll lend you mine one night, and you can see, because I have the little one. That's the XL you have there. I have this slightly smaller one, which I like.
At my house, the reception was about the same. It was here that I noticed a difference. So that was my
But that was because we flipped the switch on the femtocell.
Yeah.
Well, we have some news, too. Speaking of Wi-Fi calling, in iOS 10.3 Beta 2, Verizon customers on iCloud were able to have Wi-Fi calling.
Yeah, everybody should get that. Do you notice how much better it sounds when you're on Wi-Fi calling? Really sounds good, doesn't it?
Right.
The voice quality is so much better.
So for that one phone call that I make a month.
I know what you mean.
Well, that was what was amazing when we switched phones, how long it took me to actually set up my voicemail, because I realized calling is the last thing I do with my phone these days.
Yeah.
That is ironic.
Now, what about messaging? I'm actually curious to know, because messaging is a big sore spot on Android to a lot of people.
You must have loved Apple Messages.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'm so used to the convoluted, broken world of messaging on Android that iMessages, like, I actually had to think about which friends I can message through messages, because that's just not how I think. Like, I send them a text message, or I find them on Facebook Messenger. It's just my habit. It's my routine.
Did you
but I did find a couple of friends and do iMessage, messages with them.
Did you give some instruction to Megan on, that would be a particularly important one to say, well, Megan, there's 14 different messaging applications you can use. None of them work the same way. Here's what I would recommend. Or did you just throw her to the dogs?
He did.
I threw her to the dogs.
Wow.
And if you're going
But I said, any questions you have, let me know. I just kind of figured, personally, I just figured,
she'll figure it out.
We're all new to a new platform. Yeah. We figure it out. And
not everybody has a Jason to ask.
Well, one thing that if you're going to do this as an experiment, or if you're going to switch, you have to deregister your phone number from iMessage. Otherwise, people will not get your messages.
Isn't that awful? I think that's actually terrible.
So does that mean that alters your ability to get iMessage when you come back? Or does that
I guess I have to re-register it. I don't. It probably, once I put my phone number in and go back to, I don't know.
It's Apple's walled garden.
I was going to say,
you can check in, but you can't check out.
Yeah, is that a hostile move to a certain degree?
Yeah, I don't blame Android for that. But yeah, I have all these group messages that I was suddenly no longer a part of. All their reindeer games I can no longer play.
You're an Android user now.
Big deal, because you're a green bubble. So
You're a green bubble, and I had set up my book group had a text message that was the most interesting text message you can ever imagine group. And I missed out for the whole month. They've been talking without me. They tried to re-add me. They couldn't.
They might not know who you are when you return.
I don't think they will.
Yeah, you can't. Apple's Messages doesn't do group messages with Android. You can only do it with other Apple.
Well, no, I started a few group messages. Well, they're not group messages. You can't change the name of the group or
they're group SMS.
Yeah, group SMS.
As opposed to
whatever as long as I started them.
Doing.
Yeah. But it's just a mess.
And with iMessage,
you have to start it. That's right.
Yeah. With iMessage, you can send things with balloons or with fireworks. So now my messages would just come in with the parentheses sent with fireworks. fireworks. That's
I
what it
know,
says.
isn't that depressing? You're
It's
missing the
worst.
fun.
Yeah.
I use Facebook Messenger as my SMS messaging platform on Android, and as a result, I can now get all the features of Facebook messaging on both platforms. But it's still janky because you know stuff still comes into Hangouts for some reason. I guess because I use Google Fi and Voice, and it's just a mess.
I mean, one thing I did like about iMessage is jumping in there and putting in a friend of mine who I know is on iPhone, and it recognizes that automatically. And I think that's the sore spot with Android users, is that at least with iMessages, it's a platform that everybody that has an iPhone or an iOS device has.
Right.
If they have a phone number and they are on iPhone, then their account is automatically looped into this new way of messaging, and everybody's on the same playing field. You don't really have that on Android. Like, the messaging apps do those same features, but there's not that one quintessential does everything app that everybody just automatically has.
It needs to come from
it's
the
not cohesive.
carrier or the manufacturer.
Yeah.
It can't, and so that you just all agree. And that's where Apple has a huge advantage. And they've created, frankly, it's a marketing tool. They've created a huge advantage.
For sure.
Is once you're on iPhone, you want everybody you know to be using an iPhone. And you actually start putting peer pressure on them to do that.
It's true. Yeah, it's not easy to switch. And Google, I was excited. I'll use Allo, but nobody I know uses Allo.
No.
Not even
Not
Jason.
even, not even
Allo's not even in the top 500 Google Play Store apps anymore.
Yeah.
It's I think it's a failure at
it's
this point.
such an obvious mistake by Google that I think, and there's no way they don't know it. So I think there's other reasons why, and I'm thinking antitrust reasons, why they don't say, this is our messaging platform. They don't want to get in trouble, as they have, in the EU in some cases, for specifying a messaging platform from Android.
Right. And especially if it's theirs, and it relies on all of this extra data and everything.
Now, why Apple doesn't get in trouble doing that, I don't know. But,
I don't understand either. That doesn't make any sense. And I tried to use Facebook Messenger as my default messenger, and that was not easy. Like, it kept asking me over and over again. And first of all, it's called Messages. And Google's is called Messages.
I know, they're
so
all the same name.
UI says, would you like to replace messages with messages?
And the worst thing is, every manufacturer, even I think Google, has its own Messages app in addition
Messenger,
to, so there's Samsung Messages. If you buy a Samsung phone, there's Google's Messages, there's also Hangouts, there's also other messenger apps. That is one of the that in a nutshell is the difference between Apple and Android. Apple says you do it this way, this is the only way, and nobody else can play. Google says everybody can play, nothing makes any sense, and anybody who wants to be an SMS messaging app, go ahead. You want to be the default, go at it, have fun. It's terrible, and Google has to solve this. This is an example of too much choice.
All right, well, should we do some news?
I think we started, so let's continue. Yes.
Bloomberg says Apple's going to start making iPhones in India, which is exciting because there are a lot of people in India. They've been working on this for a while, and they're asking for a 5-year exemption on customs duties, among other things they're asking for. Apple only has 2% share of market India, and apparently the new India factory will only make iPhones, nothing else.
Right. This is going to be a trend worldwide. The same thing, Foxconn built a factory in Brazil because Brazil has very high tariffs for phones made outside of Brazil. So if Apple wants to succeed in Brazil, they have to make iPhones there. The tit for tat they got with India was they're allowed now to open Apple stores in India. India's government said, if you don't make these in India, you can't open Apple stores here. And Apple really wanted to do that. So I think we're going to see this in the United States as well. It looks like we're headed that way. So I think this is going to be increasingly an issue around the world. And at some point, you got to think a company like Apple, as big as it is going to say, we really don't want to build that Polish factory or that Lithuanian factory or that factory in Singapore. In every country they have to build a factory. That's where we're headed, I think.
Are you ready for the apocalypse? The apocalypse. Apocalypse.
I'll take that apocalypse. Sure.
What apocalypse is
that's
this?
what Mashable's calling it because the next iOS 10 beta includes a warning that some people are saying this app will not work with future versions of iOS, so that any app that hasn't been updated in 2 or 3 years is still running 32-bit code And, before you'd get a warning that says, this might slow down your device.
Yeah, I've been seeing that a lot, and that drives me crazy because it doesn't slow down your device. That's utter nonsense.
Right, but then it might not work. Some favorites,
work.
like Great Lightsaber, a classic.
A lot of the older
Oh,
stuff,
man,
they
that's
just never been updated. Yeah.
Of all the apps that I didn't play around with on iOS, that was at the top of the
That
list.
was the one you missed the most.
Well, remember Zen Garden, which a couple of apps ago, iPhones ago or iPads ago, I think it was an iPad demo. It was a beautiful Zen Garden. I showed you that. It was one of our app caps. It now says, oh, this isn't going to work well. And I see that over and over again, and it's very disappointing to me.
I mean, is it just about developer shaming? Like, hey.
Yes, because it does work well. Yeah. But they don't want developers to do 32-bit apps anymore. They want everything to be developed with 64-bit. And that I don't see a huge benefit to users, frankly. But
yeah, so app shaming. Does that happen on
app
Android?
shaming is good.
Developer shaming?
Let me think. Well, I'm trying to think if I've seen an active, like,
I have never seen
don't
that.
install this because it's not going to work well on your device. I don't think that you necessarily get that. I will say that when you go to the Play Store and you search around for things, I wish there was a way to, like, improve the quality a little bit easier of the results that I get. Half the time I jump into things and it has horribly outdated UI because it was developed 5 years ago, hasn't
Maybe
been
there should
updated in
be
the last
some
3
app
years.
shaming.
And, so maybe there needs to be better tools from the user side to make it easier for me to eliminate some of those. The Play Store won't allow you to install apps on devices that it's not set by the developer that it's compatible with. So there's a little bit of that where if it's truly not compatible with apps Gingerbread or before, for example, then you won't see it in your Play Store search results. So that maybe they take care of it on the search side as opposed to, the user side.
Lego has a new iOS app and social network for kids. This was exciting. It's designed for kids, so they have a few really interesting ways that they're dealing with privacy for kids and security. Their comments are only in emoji. And they have removed the combinations of emoji that would somehow be offensive.
Clown, eggplant, pants, lightning bolt, kisses.
Yes. I don't know if they've removed the eggplant emoji. I think they've removed the steaming pile of poo emoji.
Oh, I hope so. We don't want caca in our
That's all
feed.
you'd see in comments if it was a kid's
Poop.
social network.
Poop.
So I think it's a cool way of kids, for
love
kids
it.
to be able to share.
Oh, you're playing it?
Yes. So this is what it looks like on
Oh,
the
it's Pinterest.
iPad. It is a little bit like Pinterest. My
odd.
kids signed up for an account. You can, add your images. This is John's iPad.
Timing's
so I'm not
good
gonna-
because Club Penguin, Disney's killing Club Penguin.
So, and we discussed this a little bit on Tech News today, and Jason brought up the good point that it's really sort of getting kids to just get used to social networks as early as possible, and that kind of feedback
Yes.
of like, here's my Lego construction, like it, please like it.
Please, I need more likes. I don't know. I just feel like there's been a lot of development over the past 10 years around social media. Around making it stickier, making it more addictive, I guess, is the way to put it.
I don't think it's good for children.
So part of me kind of worries a little bit about just the idea of here's a social network made for kids. Well, what does that do? That teaches them at an even earlier age
to need
that this
approval
is
of
something
others.
that I need to jump in there on a daily basis and see how people really feel about me. And
Wait till you see the.
but maybe it's just the modern age. Maybe
You
that's
said
just
you're
the way it
watching
is.
Black Mirror. Wait till you see the Black Mirror in the new season.
I did.
The one where they're rating.
I
Everybody
went out
has
of
a
order. That was
rating.
the very first one I saw,
Yeah.
and it blew me away.
And I think that there's a certain truth to that.
Yes.
That's where we're headed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's safe to say now that social media has not been good for us. It has not been good for. I like it. I like staying in touch with people. I love Instagram, looking at people's pictures. But given the amount of hours we've wasted on it,
I know. Well, that's it right there.
and the need for approval, and
I feel myself pulling further away from it. To be completely
I
honest,
think it would be healthy to do so. I do.
Well, the other point of this is, I feel like Lego are kind of the last time a lot of kids use their hands. It's the last toy
that's a
that
really
they
good point.
really
Yep.
play with. And so to spend more time, just looking at their creations, uploading their creations, sharing, liking other people's Lego creations, that's less time they're spending with Lego. So
Lego had an amazing quarter. They're very profitable, and I guess they're going to become the next Disney.
see it.
Beats X, they might be coming soon. That's what Mac Rumors says.
What are those? Are the AirPod Beats?
They're the Beats, the new W1 chip
Yeah.
Beats, but I don't think they're totally wireless.
No.
I think they have
there's like a wire between the two, I think, right?
but yeah,
goes
you
around
might
the
be able to
back.
get those
How
in
much?
New York. That's a great question.
Beats
How much
X.
are they? I don't know
Google
if we
Food,
know
don't
that
let me
yet.
down. Beats X, $149.95.
Okay, so
That'd be
they're
about
in-
right.
And they have that wire that goes around your neck.
Yep.
They're in the same ballpark as the AirPods.
But I would use those. I mean, I'm still waiting for my AirPods. March 1st is my
Really?
ship date. Yeah,
Love these AirPods.
Yes. So,
Love 'em.
but they might fall out while I'm running, and I might need that
I've
wire.
not had an AirPod fall out yet, and I really love the convenience of it. I know I look dopey,
You don't.
but I make phone calls that way all the time now.
You look forward thinking, I think.
Yeah. Why does he have a white thing in his ear?
You know, with all this, with all these Beats X and all the AirPods you're buying me, I hope you've got your books in order.
You know, you ask. It's funny, and I'm one of those people. You ask a sole proprietor or an entrepreneur or a small business, did you make money this year? And almost I was like this. I'll let you know when I get my taxes done, because I won't know until April 15th if I made money this year, unless you use FreshBooks. Then you know exactly where you stand every moment, because you just go to your FreshBooks dashboard, and because you've been using FreshBooks to do all the important paperwork of your business, send out invoices, accounts receivable, expenses, it's all in there, and there's a box that says here's what you made or lost this far, and it's really a great tool. FreshBooks started for me back in 2004 when I was going to Canada to do the Call for Help show, and I had to invoice the company Rogers that I made the show with. I had to send them an invoice every month, and I had to get them expenses so I get reimbursed, all of that stuff. And I got to tell you, I was going crazy with this. I had to come to the end of the month, and I would just like dread it, because I don't know. I mean, everybody knows what bill paying's like at the end of the month. Well, it's just like that. You don't want to do it. But fortunately, Amber MacArthur told me about FreshBooks. It was a startup in Toronto. It had just started up, and I started using it, and it changed my life. It made it easy to invoice, made it fun to invoice, and I got paid faster, because the FreshBooks invoices, by the way, you can make one in 30 seconds. They look professional. You can get your expenses in there. They have a FreshBooks app. We take pictures of receipts and everything. Boom, it's in there. I'd email it off, and I'd get paid sometimes like in an hour, because there's a button on there that says Pay Leo. And it's very easy. And it turns out your clients want to pay you. It's just they have the same. They don't want to pay bills. It's a pain in the butt for them. So make it easy for them. Turns out on average, FreshBooks customers get paid 11 days faster. And this is why. You can make recurring invoices, so you don't have, and they can make recurring payments, by the way. So the whole thing can be automatic. You can have automatic late fees. You can have slow pays. You'll know when they've opened it. It actually puts on the dashboard, yep, they saw the invoice, and so they can't say to you anymore, I didn't get your invoice. I didn't get it. No, you did. I saw it. You looked at it. FreshBooks.com. Try it free right now. This has become such a success. As I must have been like the 5th customer. 10 million people now use FreshBooks to keep track of their invoices, of their paperwork. And when it comes tax time, you're going to be so happy. Your accountant will be too, because it's got all the standard accounting reports. You just don't have to see them, sales tax summary and all that, profit and loss. Go to FreshBooks.com. Try it free for 30 days. Actually, do me a favor. Go to FreshBooks.com/iOS today. And when they ask you, how did you hear about us on the form there, say iOS today, please, if you would. FreshBooks.com/iOS today.
We have some emails. Ron from Kansas City, Missouri, he writes, at my job, while researching and finding the perfect to-do list type of app or program, I was looking for something that could handle simple to-do items and more complex items. As with my job, I need the flexibility of options. After much research, articles, reviews from users, and many, many videos, I decided on OmniFocus, and I wish I knew about it sooner.
We've mentioned it many times.
It's $39.
It's expensive, but it's a complete project. Well, Omni Group, and they've been making a great software for the Macintosh for years, and they have real power tools. And people who use the Mac probably know the name Omni Group, and OmniFocus, Omni Outliner is a new one. They have Omni Graphel, which is a kind of a here, let me put this in so you can see it. Omni Plan. But the thing about OmniFocus is it's a true project manager. So he describes himself as a project manager. And that's exactly it. This is probably overkill for somebody who just wants a list of things they need to do. This is much more. You could do the full getting things done methodology in here. It's got, and more. It supports. I'm sure it supports Tomato and the other task managing things. Even if you just look at the Watch app, you can see all the stuff that's going on. It's not just did you do it? Check it. You can delegate. So I completely agree. This is the power tool, and people who use it. It's even more expensive on the Mac. People who use it, swear by it. It's overkill for me.
Well, you know what I like to use to organize my life, my bullet journal.
Yeah, it's not. It's not for you.
I know it's not for me.
It's not for you.
That's yeah.
But I'm just omnigroup.com. All of their stuff is really great, and we've talked about it many times on this show and on. Mac Break Weekly, you must have just missed it.
I think now it sounds familiar, but whenever I see an app that's $40,
great recommendation.
But that's wrong to think. If you're going to be using it for your work, I think $40 makes sense.
That's the standard. They have a $60 version for the Pro. I don't know what the difference is, but
we got a postcard from Ronald White. He made a postcard from Bill Atkinson's website,
nice.
and he sent it to us.
Where is it?
There it is.
Oh, you look mad at me.
I do.
Like
kind of
Leo,
look a
you
little
did
bit
it again.
Really?
Talking to right
Look at
there.
that. And then he made his own stamp, which you can do. Is that him in it? I love that.
The actual, I printed it out. He emailed it to me, and I printed it out. So
I really enjoyed the Twit podcasts. I liked your deep review.
Sleep review.
Sleep review. I can't. It's so
He says,
far away.
I use the Sleep Cycle app, and it has great information charts after
you
you
go.
complete
Thank you.
5 sessions. That was what we talked about last week. The Bond card app looks interesting, but I found the Postcard app better and cheaper to use.
It is.
So but it's different. That's, Bond comes in an envelope.
Yeah, it's more like a thank you note or a card, and Bill's really is all focused on the image and the graphics of it, and it's nice because it's laminated. Yeah, so I use both all the time. I love them.
What do you think about sending postcards? Do you ever worry about your privacy with that?
No, I consider it. I think people don't realize nowadays that sending a postcard is just like sending internet mail.
It is. You should realize that.
It's everybody can read it.
Well, I mean, I took over for Triangulation this morning for you, and I interviewed Manusha Morrone, and she's doing this whole on WNYC a whole privacy paradox project, and she talks about
That looks like a
postcards.
really good series. Actually.
Yeah, postcards versus letters, and that if we all start sending letters, that'll become normal as opposed to sending postcards. I'd never really thought about my privacy when sending a postcard.
No, because usually the information that you're sending on a postcard is super
Wish you were here having a wonderful time.
Here's my
sipping a
password.
margarita. Don't want anyone to know I drink a margarita, but
Here are all my Google passwords.
I think people I mean, look, the only people who can see your postcard is the mail carrier.
right.
I'm not so worried about the mail carrier.
They make a good point. Like, you
And
assume
by the
everyone
way,
can see everything.
if somebody wants to spy on you, it's not so hard to steam open an envelope either.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true.
I mean, if you really want to be private, the best thing to do is use encryption in email. So there, Manoush.
Or only talk to
can't-
people.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that interview.
Well, thank you.
I'll download it.
We got a tweet from Lionel. I don't know if you remember Lionel. He sent us an email when he had a baby and he wanted to learn coding apps.
Did it say, hello, it's me? No, that's a different line.
So maybe he pronounces
look
it
at that.
Lionel. This is Banner, who he wanted to learn coding so he could make a better life for Banner.
With
and
a name like Banner, he's going to be a comic hero, isn't he?
and he took this picture with the iPhone 7 Plus. This is why I bought it.
Congratulations,
So-
Lionel. That's great.
Portrait mode wins again.
Look at that.
The portrait mode also rules because you see it in real time. You know what it's going to do
Yeah.
before you ever hit take.
Yeah.
That's true. And it doesn't make you go through the raise the device,
Yeah, oh,
lower
yeah.
device. That's what happens on Android.
I know.
That's what happens on that Android.
Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't happen
Well,
on,
there
I guess
are
all
other
the cameras are different, huh?
devices that have
Sure.
the dual
Different.
camera setup.
Right.
and they're more
Nokia had
designed for that sort of thing.
this portrait mode for a long time before anybody had it on their Lumia phones.
Well, Daniel from Ottawa recommends Sleep Plus Plus. He said about battery usage.
It's one plus better.
It is, not Sleep Plus. Sleep Plus Plus. There's also Workouts Plus Plus and Pedometer Plus Plus. He said, I found if I place my watch on the charger, the Belkin Valet iPhone and Apple Watch charger, it usually brings the watch back to full because we were concerned about sleep apps on the watch and needing to charge the watch at night. So he said, if I put the watch in airplane mode prior to going to sleep.
Good thinking.
And then start Sleep Plus Plus. I only lose about 5% during the night. Then when I wake up and stop Sleep Plus Plus, I plop the watch back on the charger while I get ready for work and put it on when I leave. The watch has enough time to get back to full. He says, I also want to make note that the app itself is fully accessible with VoiceOver, as well as the other apps in this developer's list, Workouts Plus Plus, Pedometer Plus Plus, and Activity Plus Plus. Being blind myself, it is always appreciated when developers take the time to make their apps accessible.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Daniel from Ottawa. I always love to hear how people use the accessibility features. We've talked about it before. It's harder for us to know if the accessibility features are great if we're not able to use them. So thank you, Daniel.
And I want to try Sleep Plus Plus. I like that idea.
Do you need to measure your sleep? Are you not
I
getting
think
enough sleep?
I think a lot of times it's useful to do that, don't you?
Oh, I don't know. Do you track your sleep?
No.
No. You don't even
don't.
track your workouts.
I don't track my work. I don't track. As far as I know, anyways.
You're a Luddite, man.
Well, you can leave us a voicemail, 757-504-4723. And I have gotten many voicemails. I just need to go through them.
I think we got a lot of response to that sleep episode.
We did.
People were very interested in that. I think maybe because people listen to the show and go to sleep.
Yes.
It's like they use
the
it for
best.
sleep.
Yeah, I think so. You can also tweet at me. I'm at Megan Morrone. And now we're going to talk.
You're buying a new house. Man, I got to cut your salary. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that one next door, too. In fact, why don't we get all three?
I'm going to buy that house with this paycheck and that house with my next paycheck.
Pretty much how.
Dollhouses. So if you are looking for a home loan, Megan, or maybe you out there are looking to refi or buy, I want to tell you about QuickenLoans.com, one of the best mortgage lenders in the country. And you don't have to take my word for it. See all those J.D. Power Customer Satisfaction Awards on their website year after year. That's because they do a great job. They're very trustworthy. They're really a mortgage lender that's on your side. That's what you want. And in fact, there's so much on your side, they've now made a product for us, the geeks, people who want to do it all online. And there's a lot of reasons why you'd want to get your home loan online. You don't want to have to go to a bank for one thing, but also your paperwork can be submitted online, your pay stubs or your bank balances, with just push of a button. In fact, you don't even have to get up from the couch. You could do this with your phone, with your tablet. You could do this on your computer. It's called Rocket Mortgage because it's fast, it's powerful, it's incredibly easy. It's very 21st century. It's also friction-free. They have sliders on the site. When I say friction-free, I mean like it doesn't get in your way. It just gets out of your way. It's just easy. It's like the promise of, in an internet transaction. Just easy. The sliders let you choose the term, the rate, so you completely customize it. And because it's all online, they can get you turned around in minutes for a product that's just right for you. So get pre-approved, Megan, before you go house hunting. Get your loan from Rocket Mortgage. You could even do it at the open house. It's that fast. QuickenLoans.com/iOS today. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030. It's Rocket Mortgage from the best. QuickenLoans.com/iOS today. QuickenLoans.com/iOS today. Wait a minute. Now, does Jason know what happens here now?
This is the part of the show where we wear hats.
Oh, we've all got Fez-eye. Fezzes.
Okay.
Different styles, too.
Yes.
Kinds of fezzes.
We didn't plan this, to be honest.
Have multiple
You
fezzes.
have a lot of fezzes.
I have fez galore.
So this, Jason, is the part of the show where we wear hats.
We call it our
caps.
app fez.
We call it.
The app fez. That's
The app
catchy.
fez.
That's really catchy.
We wear hats and we show off apps. And since you have
fuzzy.
three,
that looks slightly uncomfortable.
You have
actually.
3 fuzzy fezzes. That means you have to show off 3 apps.
Really? Mm-hmm. We're going to have 3 apps today.
Yes.
Well, we always, I don't know how you do it on All About Android, but we always do ladies first.
Oh, we do?
On iOS today. Yes, we do.
Ladies first.
Yes.
Okay, then. Mine is a game, and it's called The Trail.
Ooh.
And it is by Peter Molyneux. You know him
Yes.
from Godis, and
Yes.
he's done other games.
Yes.
It is, we're going to go on a little adventure. Can you hear what's coming out of there?
Yeah, you want to put headphones on now. This is going to be good.
All right.
Welcome to the trail.
Isn't she
You're
have a
about to
pleasant
embark
voice?
on a unique adventure.
Are you ready to embark on a unique adventure?
Yes.
Since I already played, I got to choose which character I would play. So you could, if you want to choose a man or someone with orange hair, you can do that too.
Let's start with the basics. First, drag left and right to move the camera.
So it's 360.
Great. Just swipe up now to start walking.
And then I'm going to swipe and I'm going to walk.
Now, Molyneux's known for Populous and
Godus.
Hey, traveler.
yeah, the God
Look at
games
me.
where you're.
Yeah.
Look around.
Are you
I
a
have
god
red
in this?
umbrella.
No, you're just a traveler.
Oh.
You're
I did his game Black and White. I couldn't stop playing.
You need
it.
a
there we
guide?
go.
Well, you got one.
Now we
Me.
have a guide. There we go.
Follow me. Let's begin your journey.
This is more like Fable. He also did Fable, I think.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're
lady.
going on a journey. Is she
I'll
going to talk
help
to
you
me the
reach
whole
and
time?
Pass the river nearby.
She is going to
Let's
talk
head
to us
towards
for a
the first
while.
camp of
She's
the
going to give
trail.
us shoes. We're going to travel to the camp.
Hold
We're
on
going
your character and drag up or down.
But she's the
depending on your
tutorial.
speed.
I don't have to listen to her
Try
all.
now.
No,
the
you
time.
don't have to. Do you not like her voice?
She's a little perky for me.
Oh, she is.
I hate perky.
Hold on to your
Nice.
character and drag.
Soon you might get shoes to help
There
you go
we
even
go.
faster.
Now I'm running. My AirPods would fall
This
off
heart is your
at
energy.
this moment.
The
Which one is
faster
you? The one
run,
with the
who's
umbrella?
skipping?
quicker it
I'm
goes
the
down.
backpack.
Make
She's
sure you
my
never
guide
run
with the red
out.
umbrella.
Okay.
She's the one going like
And
this.
there's
Oh,
my
she's
energy.
perky.
Yeah,
Okay.
there we go. And you could see what it says.
She's even skipping. She's having so much
Mm-hmm.
fun.
Get ready for an extraordinary journey. Eden Falls is quite far ahead.
I like this game, especially at this moment, because it reminded me of Westworld a little bit.
It is.
Yeah.
So you don't kill anybody. I
No,
don't
you don't
think.
kill anybody.
Are you seeking
This one here.
items?
You're seeking items, shoes, for example. It's a little bit like Westworld and The Hobbit. Doesn't that music feel like
It does
The
very
Hobbit?
hobbity. Yeah.
I look tired.
See those columns of smoke?
Smoke.
They all come from different campsites.
Columns of smoke.
So you can go
This is
visit
the first camp.
campsites.
Just ahead of us.
And you go on travels.
It'd be more fun if you were a marauding bear or something.
Well, more fun to
We
you,
took the first
perhaps.
camp as easy.
This is the
Hey,
kind of
boo,
game
boo.
that I like.
Did they have any food in there?
We're not taking over. It's not your.
Yeah.
What is your Guardians of Attack
Yeah.
point? What
Yeah. Field runners attack.
Field Runners
Yeah.
Attack?
Yeah. Oh, it's Traveler's Rest. Good. I'm tired of being perky.
I've skipped all this
That's a
way.
safe place to rest
time
and
to sit
restore your
down.
energy.
I like games where you
Oh.
can rest for a while.
Game where you can sit down. How novel.
My life is busy. I don't need stressful
And
games.
every minute in the game is the same as every minute outside of the game.
Yes.
Ah, perfect.
So
All right, let's go.
Wait a minute. That was it?
Yeah, I mean, I could have rested longer if I
But
wanted
was there
to.
anything to gain by that?
faster movement, maybe?
Energy.
Or-
Look how big my heart is.
Oh,
Look
you
how
got
much
a
energy I
swollen
have
heart.
there.
Okay.
All right.
Can you kill that
Catch
rabbit?
the bunny.
No, you're not going to kill anything. There's a shell. We're going to
It's
pick
dinner.
it up.
When you're lost in the forest, when you're lost in the wilderness, you
Here's
need
a
dinner.
shell. Pick it up. Put it in my bag. Thank you.
We need to take everything to the next camp.
Lord,
You
it's
guys-
boring.
I do not think that. Open your pack. We need to take everything. Open your pack.
You can put small items in this
And
computer.
this is why nobody
item
does
in your
gaming
phone
for
bag.
girls.
Open
Leo,
This is a girl game.
this is a game of adventure.
Okay. Are there dragons?
There's no murdering, Bleak. There's no murdering. There's no marauding. Open your pack again. All right. What do you have? Who goes next, Jason or you?
I don't know. I'm enthralled with this
No, I want
adventure.
something
Okay,
to happen.
okay.
Come on.
Open
No,
your
actually,
pack
it looks
again.
like fun. I'll play that game.
Okay.
It's very relaxing.
Put an item in your pack to free some space in your pack. Look, it's like packing. It's what you like, man bags. This is like your man bag.
Open your pack again.
Okay. She has to tell me what to
Put an item in your
do.
pocket to free some space in your pack.
Put an item in your pocket.
Great.
Okay.
Now close your pack.
Okay.
Now let's keep moving and try gathering more shells than me before the next camp.
I'm going to try to. Okay.
But first, let's sit down.
Okay.
Oh, is it
You're not
nap
supposed to
time?
gang up on me, Jason. This
It looks
not-
sweet. Is this?
I like the visual.
It's for young
It's
people.
free. It's
free.
For, yeah. It's for anyone
You know what? I am a
interested
huge
in.
fan of Peter Molyneux, so I know that this will something very exciting will happen.
I just like to look around. You can look around and
Chickenhead
wanna-
says, "Is this another sleep app?"
maybe.
Boom, psh.
Maybe. All right. So this is what I like to do when I game. It's called The Trail. Peter Molyneux
I feel
And-
like it's going to be like an M. Night Shyamalan movie. There's something.
You missed
There's gonna be a
that
big
shot,
twist.
Michelle.
Something's going to
Don't
happen.
worry, you're already getting better at it. Here, take my shells.
Oh, well, good. Forest entry. Look, now we're going to meet some other characters here
Oh,
wearing
there's a lady
fancier
in a
hats. Yes.
Hello, my dear. I'm Beatrice. I'll teach you how to make things.
Don't you want to learn how to make things?
Yes.
But first, you really must collect some items for me.
Oh.
It's all the quest and none of the fun.
All right.
Bird will stay with you until you have collected
I
all
would-
the items.
I like it. Sorry.
All right. No, I like it too.
What is the never ending or the video game, the classic video game where you're just driving down the road?
Night Driver?
No, where you literally
It's like a bus.
the school bus.
The
yes.
bus. Yeah.
Yes.
Something
It's
bus.
kind of like that.
The
but-
desert bus.
The desert bus.
Desert
Yeah.
bus.
Yeah.
It's like that, but
Desert bus.
trail.
But with ladies.
But and lady, lady on a trail.
And shells.
All right. Well, I'll be collecting some more shells
Now,
and making
it's-
things out of
And
them.
I'm sure you've experienced this in All About Android. Very risky to diss somebody's app.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Because then what goes around comes around, right?
usually does.
Yep.
Yep. But you guys, does the community vote on their?
No, we
favorite?
don't. This is not a competition.
No, I.
So, in fact, I like
usually
that app. I just want to be
Leo
clear.
mocks me a little bit. and
I don't. No, that was a good app. Does
The
a
trail.
witch come along and eat you?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, this is preparation for you, Megan.
Yeah, tomorrow.
when
Because
you,
you're
gonna
when
go
you bring an
above.
app.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying
Is
to
it
do.
rougher than this or?
I don't know. I think the roughness happens later when the voting begins.
Okay.
'Cause
It's
then
competitive.
it's competitive.
Yeah.
It's not overly competitive.
Okay.
You're gonna be fine. Is it my turn? is
Let
your
me
turn?
let you end with it
Okay.
because I'll do mine in the middle because mine isn't that good. So, and I'm hoping you can end this with a big finish, Jason. Actually, this isn't that original. Matthew Ingram showed us a great app on the web called 60dB, and I'm really thrilled because Liz Gaines, our good friend Liz Gaines, works for them now. She left Recode, and so it's playing right away. But let me show you what it is. It's kind of like a podcast app, but really the idea behind it was, wouldn't it be great if you could listen to podcasts as a radio station, like you would just get show after show after show, kind of a continuous, endless stream based on your interests, and we'll find it for you and generate for you. So that's kind of what's the idea behind 60dB. 60dB, by the way, is the decibel level of the human voice. So it's all spoken word. There's two kinds here. This is the quick hit stream, and it's assembled. And by the way, we're in it in some of our stuff. Here's a twit bit that's in it. It's all the twit bits because everything in here is under 15 minutes. It's shorter, and most of them are 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes. It's a mix of news and other stuff, and you get to pick, of course, what other stuff you'd like to have in there. So, but it's a great way to discover podcasts as well. The second tab is in depth, and these are longer, 20 minutes, even an hour. Okay. But there aren't as many of them because I guess after listening for 45 hours, you'd probably run out. But the theory is you would never run out on this. You can search for subjects. So, of course, we just had the Super Bowl, and I can add podcasts that have a certain subject. This is all NFL-focused stuff. So it could be sports, it could be tech, could be whatever your favorite interests are. But once you've built the list, you go there, you press play, and you keep listening.
First
It has
Solar raise capital to bring clean.
it has
energy to the market.
this is NPR's
Capital.
news summary, which typically begins each of them because you want to catch up on the latest news. You could skip, of course. You can thumbs up and thumbs down and so forth. But what I really like, this also has an Alexa interface. So once you add the 60dB task to your Amazon Echo, you could say, Echo, listen to 60dB, and it will either pick up where you left off or start a new stream. It's free and it's very simple, but I really like this. I think you can customize your categories: news, sports, business, politics. Even bits from late night TV, things like that, stuff that would normally, this is all audio, but it'll take YouTube bits from Saturday Night Live and things like that. So these are the things I picked, but you could pick additional ones, comedy, but you also choose finance. And I think, Megan, you might want to just do some of the kids stuff, right? Celebrity gossip. Well, you have kids.
Jason's kids are younger than mine.
Okay, so you might too, Jason.
My kids listen to the news.
Good. Well, they got it. They got it. Anyway, I think this is pretty nice. Free 60dB, Available on, as you can see, iPad as well as iPhone. And if you do sign up for it and you configure it, make sure you tie it into your Amazon Echo, because that's nice too.
And make sure you add our Twitbits.
By the way, it will import your podcast list from your Apple Podcast app.
Oh, nice.
So if you've already selected podcasts in the Apple Podcast app, you could just access it, and it will use the podcasts on your device to personalize the feed.
Hold on, I have to pick up an apple. Look at that, an apple.
Oh, how exciting.
You found something.
That's great. Are you hungry? Do you get
I need
hungry?
to restore my energy.
All right, good.
Okay, all right. Now, Jason, you can go.
Your turn, Jason.
I like that, by the way, because I'm more and more, I don't want to get in my car and then figure out what I want to listen to and then go somewhere.
Yeah.
I just want to get in and hit play and have
That was their incentive. That's what people do with the radio, right? You turn it on.
Right.
And
You just
you
turn it
listen.
on. Yep.
Right. And my attention span is probably around 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's
so.
perfect.
Yep. So when it came to me choosing an app as an app cap, I had to choose one that I've used a lot. Not necessarily. I will admit, I didn't really go through the App Store and go digging a lot, because what I've also realized is that many of the apps that I rely on Android, they already exist on iOS. So all the services that I'm comfortable with, they have apps on both sides. They're very much the same. So I fell into total habits as far as that's concerned. The apps that I used on Android, I used on iOS. But there was one category of apps that I had to kind of go exploring for in particular, because over Christmas I got Hue Lights. And we have a couple of second-generation color Hue light bulbs in our living room, and then we have another one in another room. And I've had a lot of fun finding apps and playing around with the different combinations that you can do with your Hue light bulbs and everything. And when I went searching through the App Store, one of the ones that seemed to come highly recommended by a lot of people is an app that I wouldn't say the design is necessarily the most amazing design in the world, but it's called Thorlight. For Philips Hue. It's free, and they have different aspects of the app that you can kind of buy packs into. But just as kind of the basics, you've got scene. Oh no, I made a Hue light bulb category around my. Was it Me Too? May Too?
May Too.
My May Too image, which I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but if we were at home right now, my lights would change to mimic the image, the colors in the image.
Of you as a woman, or
That was the May Too.
it
app.
was
Do you remember that?
the Chinese
Anime.
he's anime.
that makes you anime or whatever. I put that
Yeah.
in there to see, because it's got lots of whites and reds.
Yeah, it's
in
very
it.
pretty,
Very
yeah.
nice. Very pretty. It can't connect to my Hue right now because I'm here.
Wow.
In the normal category, one thing I love about Hue is that it can mimic any light temperature that you want, right? So if what you want is to mimic those like really dim antique bulbs, you can do that. With Thorlight, they kind of give you the nice visual representation, so you can jump right to whatever kind you do. We watched a movie over the weekend, and I did the cinema mode, and that's like very lightly lit, just enough to be able to walk through the room, but not so bright that
that's
it like
nice.
shines out, the movie that you're watching. A lot of these are kind of basic, right? Like any color or randomized color, gradient, which because we have two lights in our living room, I can go in here, find a nice gradient, and it will choose one color per side of the room essentially, and it makes a nice dynamic there. Animation is, of course, where all the fun stuff happens. And I can't show any of this to you because I don't have the light bulbs, but I did buy Party, because every once in a while in our house, we do a dance party. Our girls like to put on a dance party for
that's
us.
fun.
And so we can, set the light bulbs to strobe. We can do multicolor strobing so that each of the light bulbs does a different color pattern and strobes, or they do fades, all of these different types of ways that it can kind of animate the light bulbs. But there's all these other ones. And the idea here is that like ambiance, sky, flow, you can tap into them and see what they offer. They're all locked, but you can preview any of them for 60 seconds. And if you decide you want one, you buy the whole pack, and it's like $3.99. And you get all 10 of those or all 12 of those or whatever, and they all come in, and you have access to them going forward. But you get to preview it first, which I think is of value when you're talking about, like, am I going to buy $4 for like this light combination in my living room? At least this way you can kind of test it out and everything.
Do you find the paid light combinations are better somehow than the ones?
I find maybe not necessarily like static colors or anything like that, but yes, the animation aspect of things.
Okay.
You can find really unique ones. Like it might just be a strobe or it might be a strobe with a very unique kind of like color pattern that's mixed in there, and it's hard to find in other apps. What I've noticed between Hue apps that I've tried on Android and the few that I've tried on iOS is it's a lot of the same, but done a little bit differently or whatever. You can kind of get close, but I have found that you find the most dynamic stuff when you pay a little bit for it. And I'm sure they do that by design. You know, they kind of give you the basics for free. And then they give you some really fun, like voice activated or sound activated so that it responds to the noise and the music that's playing in the room, all that kind of stuff. So Thorlight is just kind of a good free, but with the ability to pay control for your Hue light bulbs. And you can, you know, set up zones and all that kind of stuff to control everything in different ways.
I have a question about the Hue light bulb. So you buy those, you don't have a hub. Do you have a hub?
Yeah, you have a hub, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that hub connects to the Wi-Fi. And then any of these apps, the first time I run it, I have to like push a button on the hub that syncs it to this app or adds it to this app anyways. And then from then on, I can use this app or any other app that I've synced that with to control my light bulbs. I love the Hue light bulbs. They're so great.
And they have, as you say, they have their own app.
They have their own app.
It's very capable.
And
but this adds a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. This adds more of the kind of like the animation and the kind of automation of how those light bulbs dance and kind of intermingle with each other.
I'll have to try it.
And Thorlight.
Thor.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I have a dumb home, but if I move into a new home, it's going to be smart. Yes, and a lot of you have asked for us to do a whole show on smart homes. So
I'm not the expert. You're going to have to get Stacey.
I'm going to have
Higginbotham
to. I know. I have
on
to
for
get
that.
Stacey.
Yeah.
Or I've read that there are people that you could hire to come into your
smarten.
house
They're
and
home
smarten
smarteners.
up your
Yeah.
house. So. So stay tuned for that. If anyone has any
Wiseners.
tips,
Wiseners.
yes. So yeah, because I don't know the first thing. So does each Hue light contain all of those colors?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, depending on the bulb that you get, they have
they
less
do have a
expensive.
white-only
Yeah,
bulb,
they have a white-only bulb. They have some that are like meant to like wash a wall, so it's like a large, kind of more broadly spread out light bulb. They've got LED strips that
Those
you
are
can control.
cool. They're fun.
They've
Put
got
those
all.
under your
It's like a
cabinets
whole
and
world.
things.
And what's cool is it's modular. So like the kit that I got was the bridge and then 3 second-generation color light bulbs, which are pretty good. I got that for like $100 on sale. Normally it's like $200. And now that I have the bridge, I can pick up bulbs whenever I want to for like $40. Those bulbs, they say, last for like 6 years. I don't know how true that is. But I mean, yeah, the stuff you can do when you combine them is really cool.
You know, when you get to be my age and you buy these bulbs, you can tell your wife, I'm never going to have to put another bulb in again.
6 years?
Well,
6 years is all you've got left?
That's all I got. That's it.
No, but those lights that last a really long
Yeah,
time.
the LEDs
That's
are supposed to.
impressive.
I think that they will outlast me. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'll be mad, you know, if I'm not dead yet and the bulb goes out. I'm
If I ever have to change you.
I'll be mad. You're supposed to last forever. Well, that was fun, Jason. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for putting up with an iOS device.
Oh no, it's my pleasure. Like I said, I've been wanting to do it for a long time.
You don't even have an iPad?
Well, I do have an iPad. I just don't use it. It's not part of my routine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'm sorry that both of you had to suffer for a month, but I think it was a fascinating experiment.
I think it was. It wasn't suffering. It was growing. It was growth.
That's right.
It was like, stretching the neuroplasticity of our brain.
You'll live longer because of it.
Yes.
Exactly.
It'll help you outlive your light bulbs. Jason has a great show on Tuesday nights, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, called All About Android, and you're going to be on that tomorrow night.
I am.
And you'll be in the Lion's Den this
Yeah,
time.
I'm going to be
esteemed guest.
Yeah, I'll be a little more prepared. They do have the trail on Android, but I don't.
You should
think
bring
that's-
that into the arena.
I don't.
I wish you'd put black and white on the iPad. That was a great game. Or
Black
Populous.
and white.
That'd be so much fun.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe I'll get with Leo and see if he has some recommendations. Is that cheating?
It's a game for narcissists.
Oh.
You're God.
Oh, goddess.
Yeah.
Or is it goddess? Goddess? I don't know. We have that.
Yeah. Goddess is fun.
I've played that before. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, well, we're done. Thank you so much for joining us. We do this show every Monday about 12:30 to 1 o'clock Eastern time. That's about 12:30 to 1 o'clock Pacific time. That's about 3:30 Eastern time, or 22:30 UTC. Watch, if you wish, live at live.twit.tv, twit.tv/live. It's not the same thing, believe it or not. Or on YouTube Live, youtube.com/twit. You can also subscribe and get every show after the fact. On-demand audio and video is available at our website, twit.tv/iOS, and everywhere you get your podcasts. Thanks for seeing both of you. And thanks to all of you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Here's what we do the hat flip on iOS Today.